When I set out to make a video about the history of XFCE, I was eager to try out an ISO of version 1.0 to physically experience that fragment of history. And yet, surprisingly, the software turned out to be untraceable. I spent an entire day exploring the depths of the web, navigating through messy archives, broken links, and forgotten forums. A task that, in theory, should not have been one. We live in the era of instant availability, digital preservation, and perpetual access. Or at least, that's what we've been promised. Search engines, which once seemed like open windows onto the world, have become opaque filters, repetitive, driven more by consumption than discovery. I even use a meta-search engine, capable of aggregating results from multiple sources, including Google. But even Google, once a giant of knowledge, now appears tired, ineffective, colonized by aggressive SEO tactics and redundant content. How many of you still use it with conviction? Personally, I believe that within a few years, Google, as we know it, will be a faded memory. But this is just a side drift. The heart of the matter lies elsewhere. I apologize if my thoughts, like a restless hand late at night flipping through TV channels in a desperate search for meaning, seem to deviate. In truth, they converge toward a deep, largely overlooked issue, yet one that's essential to our civilization: preservation. That compulsive gesture, that senseless zapping, has become the perfect metaphor for our relationship with digital knowledge. We jump from one source to another, one result to another, never really finding what we truly seek, because what we seek often no longer exists. To preserve doesn't just mean to archive. It means to transmit, to make accessible, to give meaning a longer life. It is a cultural gesture, an anthropological one, almost sacred. And yet, in an era that was supposed to mark the triumph of widespread knowledge, universal access, and timeless memory, we are instead facing a very different reality: the loss of everything that isn't monetized, deemed compliant, or considered market interesting. The apparent abundance of digital content has paradoxically eroded the value of possession. We've stopped wanting to keep, to preserve, to collect. We rely on the ephemeral, the temporary, the perpetual rental of content provided by platforms that, at the slightest algorithmic change or editorial whim, remove what they once made us believe was eternal. We've stopped collecting books, magazines, records, VHS tapes. We've started collecting subscriptions: Apple Music, Spotify, Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube Premium. But what happens when these platforms, and it happens often, remove works from their catalogs? What's left to us, the poor postmodern users? Here are some striking concrete examples. Song of the South, Disney 1946, removed from Disney Plus due to sensitive content. The Interview, 2014, limited distribution for geopolitical reasons. Much of Woody Allen's filmography, removed from various platforms for non-artistic reasons. Apocalypse Now Redux, specific versions are now unavailable. Many works by Orson Welles, trapped in legal limbo. And as for TV series, Community, episodes canceled due to controversial content. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, episodes removed without warning. The Office, 30 Rock, Golden Girls, edited or cut by preemptive censorship. Wilfred, Australian version, has virtually disappeared from the digital landscape. We are witnessing a new kind of auto-da-fe. Books are no longer burned in public squares. Instead, works are deleted with a click, with no debate, no memory, no archive. A soft censorship, masked as ethics, as public protection. In reality, it's a subtraction of meaning, a denial of our critical capacity, of our intellectual autonomy. As if they were telling us between the lines, "You're not capable of understanding, so we'll decide for you." It's a dangerous and deeply offensive cultural paternalism, as if we were incapable of distinguishing between what is morally acceptable and what is historically necessary, between what may offend and what may help us understand. But beware, it's not always about ideological censorship. Often it's simply a matter of trends, of economic performance, of marketing. A show stops being popular or profitable, it is simply deleted, removed from the catalog, erased from collective memory. And so, what was supposed to be the era of universally accessible knowledge is turning into its exact opposite, a time where we only have access to the surface, to identical, repetitive, sanitized content. True art, authentic knowledge, the bit that builds the brick that builds the path, not toward truth, but toward the honest pursuit of it, seem to be vanishing. And let me say it clearly, it's our fault. We accepted the trade-off between being and having, between possession and passive consumption. We embraced a model that replaces cultural objects with commercial streams, and now we're paying the price. The causes run deep, anthropological. But one thing is certain, the issue of subscription versus ownership, of memory versus oblivion, is not just technical or cultural. It is a philosophical and existential nerve that may, perhaps irreversibly, define the identity of this century. The truth is that we've been domesticated, and they continue to domesticate us. This is not conspiracy thinking. There is no group of men in the shadows planning everything around a table. Reality is much more complex, more subtle, more organic. It's the result of a historical dynamic, of a system that evolves cleverly to maintain control over humankind, a dynamic that has existed since the dawn of civilization. Those who learn to navigate the currents of history learn to guide them and to manipulate them. Control is no longer exercised by force, but by seduction, not with explicit censorship, but with silent removal, not through deprivation, but through excess, of stimuli, of options, of subscriptions. And today, if we also accept the loss of memory, if we give up ownership, the deep pleasure of having something truly ours, then there will be nothing left that really belongs to us, neither in body nor in mind. Creative Commons has undoubtedly been one of the most important and insightful initiatives of recent decades, a courageous attempt to redefine ownership in the digital age, restoring freedom and rights to both creators and users. Lawrence Lessig and his collaborators foresaw that the battle for digital culture would be fought on the field of intellectual property. And they were partly right, but they did not anticipate that the true enemy would not be copyright, but algorithmic oblivion, silent removal, disappearance through commercial neglect. But I fear it won't be enough, because the threat is not just economic or legal, it's cultural and historical. If access to certain materials becomes impossible, and in many cases it already has, if their availability is erased by negligence, de-indexing, or simple platform disinterest, they will disappear forever. No one will have them anymore. No one will be able to study them, critique them, recover them. Even the Internet Archive, one of the last bastions of digital memory, has recently lost entire blocks of data due to legal issues and increasing pressure, a worrying signal. That's why, perhaps, in this age of the immaterial, a concrete idea is once again asserting itself. The idea of a physical and public archive accessible to all humanity, where the most important digital works of our time can be truly preserved, not just code or texts, but software, videos, games, entire systems, databases, websites, a tangible, decentralized, protected digital library of Alexandria. An idea far from insane. In fact, a cultural necessity, if we want to prevent this century, despite producing more knowledge than any other, from being remembered as the age of systematic forgetting.